So, hello everybody. We've been joined by Royston French, who very kindly has made himself available to ride Rizzo again today. That's despite having some potential rides at Wolverhampton. So we really appreciate him making himself available to us. Royston, great to have you back, and obviously you're getting to know Rizzo quite well now. Maybe if I can start by asking you to reflect back to the run last time at Hamilton. How did you know, because you sort of said to us, well, that just wasn't her. How did you know that that wasn't her best running, or what was typical of her? What was different?
Good morning, everybody. Glad to be back on board. Yes, obviously sort of below par run, disappointing for everybody, but unfortunately that happens. And obviously riding her in the previous race on how gutsy she was and sort of knuckled down. I knew at Hamilton that wasn't just her, you know. I couldn't pinpoint the reason why it was a below par run, but obviously being in the game a little while as I have been, and I've gained a little bit of knowledge and experience along the way, I knew that wasn't her day for whatever reason, but knew that, you know, that wasn't her and she's much better than that.
Right, well, that's good to hear, Royston. And obviously we're running at a different track this time. We're at Pontefract. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about the Pontefract track and maybe what makes it a little bit unique compared to some other race courses?
Yes, Pontefract is, I think it's one of the longest courses. It's about 2.5 miles round, I think it is. Always on the collar, left-handed, always on the incline. So, you know, it is very different to many. Can be testing if you go off like a scalded cat. I think you suffer at the end. But also it is, in saying that, it is a front runner's track also.
Okay. And so obviously we know that Rizzo likes to kind of always pretty free going and you know, kind of doesn't necessarily have to lead from the front, but we're quite happy being quite handy. How do you think the race will pan out for her and you today?
I think, like we spoke before, obviously you've got to respect all the other runners in the field, but I'm always sort of finding or trying to find a way to win a race, therefore not letting other people to do similar things than yourself, let them to have it easy. Basically, in the race today, there is 2 or 3 horses that make the running, including us. Now, some of them have drawn a little bit better than us. Some of them are not drawn as good as us. So I think we've got to go out with the same sort of plan, give her a kick out of the starting stalls, meaning be sort of very sort of awake and alert, and get the best posse we can, whether it was like at Kempton in front or it was like at Hamilton, just chasing the leaders.
Okay, perfect. And then I know Pontefract has an incline, and there's lots of inclines at Pontefract, but there is particularly at the end, and yeah, it's quite a relatively short straight as well. Is that correct?
That's right. It's like I say, it's always on the collar, but sort of, so to speak, as you sort of turn in, there's only about, I don't know, 1.5, 2 furlongs running, so it does sort of, the winning post does come up very sharp.
So you'll kick off the bend. I know we haven't got a great turn of foot, but you'll be looking to be going flat out as you come off that last bend. Is that right?
Absolutely. I think the terms, so to speak, we'll ride our race, not ride a race for them, as in if somebody is going a bit quicker than me, or a bit quicker than us, I should say, sorry, I would get I'd get going a little bit sooner rather than sitting in behind, waiting for the pace to increase where we need to increase our pace, as she just, you know, she stays on well, hasn't got a turn of foot, like you said.
Sure. So another thing that's sort of unique about today, obviously, when Rizzo ran in Ireland, she won her maiden on really pretty soft ground. Today, the going is good to firm, good in places. Obviously, I know you'll take care of her and do what's right in the moment in terms of her well-being. how do you know whether a horse is enjoying the underfoot conditions or whether they're struggling with it because it's too soft or too firm?
Obviously, that comes with experience once again, and I'd like to think I've got a little bit of that.
Sure.
And obviously, we play it by ear. The good thing is I'm running on ground that's potentially fast enough, but we won't know until is it 155?
Yeah.
We're on an incline at the finish where that sort of takes the majority of the sting out of the ground. As I say, sting meaning the firmness out of the ground. So it's a little bit easier on a horse that perhaps wants a little bit slower ground or easier ground, so to speak. But obviously, I will obviously, knowing her and having the experience, whether she is feeling the firmer going, and if she is, obviously, like always, her welfare will come first.
Yeah, sure. So you'll go nice and easy on her if it's not working out for her for whatever reason.
And she will give me, if that is the case, she'll give me the vibes and how she's sort of our action is. I will know if that is the case, but hopefully it should be fine.
Hopefully it should be fine. Yeah, and of course we wouldn't be running her unless we genuinely thought that it would be more than okay. So sort of final sort of set of questions, Royston. There's been quite a lot of press. So for our owners who don't follow racing as closely as some, there's been quite a lot of press and attention recently on what people call reckless or careless riding. So this is when jockeys don't perhaps or aren't aware enough perhaps of the impact of what they and their horse are doing on some of the other jockeys and horses in the race, and that can cause accidents or there to be a shortness of room, or in the worst case scenarios, jockeys to fall or horses to fall as well. I wondered if, from all of your experience, you can tell us a little bit about what, as a jockey, you're trying to take care of, obviously beyond yourself and your horse. What are you also making sure that you're taking care of and aware of in a race so that you protect your colleagues and the other horses in it?
Yes, unfortunately, I think with the pandemic and everything else, it's been very difficult times, and obviously racing's not long been back, and there has been a lot of sort of bad press about careless riding, dangerous riding, or improper riding, or whatever it may be. It's a very sort of touchy subject, because as I've been in the game for 20 plus years, I've obviously been banned, not for dangerous riding, thank God, because that's something that I wouldn't do. But it's a horse race, split second decisions. It can be difficult, but the majority go out there, respect for their fellow colleagues, and obviously respecting for who they're riding for, owners and trainers, and last but not least, the welfare of a horse. Now, unfortunately, accidents will happen, whether it's accidental, careless, or dangerous. I don't believe there's many cases out there since I've been riding that there would have been dangerous riding, and there has been a few, unfortunately. But like I say, it's a horse, a jockey, and 15 other horses and jockeys in a race. Things do go wrong. You haven't got a great deal of time to think about what is going to go wrong, and sometimes it is out of your hands, whether a horse does a maneuver or spooks or trips or anything. Things do happen within races, but I would like to think, and I'd like to think fellow colleagues would think the same as me, as they would put themselves, their horses, their owners and trainers first, to try and do the best they can, and to try and keep out of trouble as best they can, to stop interference, careless, and certainly, hopefully not dangerous riding.
Sure. So I mean, obviously, when we're watching the races on TV, if there's a crowd there, it's very hard to hear what is going on for the jockeys. So during a race, are you and the other jockeys communicating? If you're short of room, or if you need room or space, or maybe your horse is tiring and you need people to be aware of the fact that you're going to be going backwards, not literally, but in terms of speed. How are you communicating to each other? What is the sort of stuff that's being said to one another as you're going around?
Well, obviously, first of all, on each race, well, I do, and I'm almost certain everybody else does. You've got to do your homework. You need to know where your opposition are going to sit in a race, or excuse me, potentially sit in a race by reading the form. So, first of all, that needs to be done. Then you've got to try and follow the right horses in the race to take you where you need to be. But in doing that as well, and it comes with experience, you can't just go and say, well, right, Striding Edge for Mark Johnson is drawn 5. That made the running when it won. I'll just follow that, because that might miss the break or anything, or we might miss the break. So you've got to have plan A, plan B, and also as a jockey, be aware of what is going on around you. Like we say, accidents can happen, or people that riders in a race that you're following think that can take you into the race, and they don't. You've got to be aware of like jockeys' body language. Are they struggling? Are they still traveling well? If their body language sort of suggests to you that they're not going to take you, say, perhaps to the furlong marker, you need to be aware of that and wanting to get yourself out of that position if it's possible.
Yeah, sure.
Or vice versa, if you are sort of struggling, the pace is slowed up and you're on heels, as in too close to another horse, you need a bit of room. Fellow colleagues, we'd all like to win every single race, but it doesn't happen. But we all have respect for one another. So if you are seriously in a spot of bother and you need a little bit of room, as long as you're not taking the Michael, we do look after one another to a certain degree.
Yeah, sure. So there's I really love the way you described it. You're trying to read the body language of the other jockeys. You're trying to, based upon the research you've done, understand the sort of the pattern of the race and how it might turn out for both your horse, but the horses in front of you. And then, you give a shout if you need a bit of space or support from somebody else to make sure that an accident doesn't happen. So, Royston, on that, best of luck today. Drive safe up there. Drive even safer when you're on Rizzo. And we're very hoping for a good run. And thanks once again for both joining us, but also making yourself available to ride.
No, thank you very much for having me on board, and hopefully she'll bounce back from below par run, which we all know is not her. So good luck, guys and girls, and everybody out there.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, Royston.